As Nietzsche warned, life itself is not about survival, nor about love. It is about the will to power. And nowhere does this truth reveal itself more nakedly than in desire. Think about that for a moment. Strip away the polite explanations we give for why we're drawn to someone. Strip away the cliches of romance novels and movie scripts. What remains is a truth most people will never dare to say out loud. Beauty may turn a head, but it is power that bends the soul. Beauty is a spark. It flares, it dazzles, but it fades. Power is gravity. It pulls, it holds. It seduces without a word spoken. And that is where the forbidden question emerges, the one few dare to ask. Why is power more seductive than beauty? Why does a man who commands a room, even if plain, become magnetic, while a man with only looks is quickly forgotten? Society feeds us a story. That attraction is about kindness, about surface charm, about symmetrical faces and polished appearances. But beneath that story lies something rawer, something less polite, and far more dangerous. The hidden current of human desire has always been about force, about will, about the unspoken signal that one carries the strength to shape reality itself. Tonight we peel back the veil on this secret. We will wander through philosophy, where Nietzsche first whispered the truth. We will step into psychology, where science hesitantly admits what instinct already knows. And we will enter the hidden chambers of desire itself, where attraction is revealed not as a choice, but as a gravitational pull no one escapes. Here at Think Deep, we don't just think, we go further. We peel back the layers of truth, one hidden insight at a time. Subscribe if you dare to see what most will never face. We live in a world obsessed with appearances. Scroll through any screen, and you'll find faces sculpted by symmetry, bodies polished by filters, and endless messages telling you that beauty is the pinnacle of desire. Entire industries thrive on this illusion. The cosmetics, the fashion, the surgeries, all built on the promise that if you look beautiful enough, you will be desired. But desire has never been that simple, has it? Think of the man who was once the center of attention, admired for his looks alone. He walks into a room and for a moment, heads turn. But look again a few years later. His beauty softens, the spark fades, and he is left grasping for the remnants of a charm that no longer carries weight. Now place him beside another man, plain, ordinary in face, perhaps even overlooked at first. But when he speaks, others fall silent. When he walks, the air shifts. He carries authority not in his appearance, but in his essence. And suddenly, he is magnetic in a way the handsome man never truly was. This is the illusion we are never taught to question. We're told beauty wins hearts, but in the end, it is power that bends knees. Power has a depth beauty can never reach. Beauty glimmers, power endures. Beauty may invite curiosity. Power commands loyalty. And here is the whisper most fear to admit. Power is not just social, not just a matter of wealth or titles. It is existential. It is the core energy that stirs attraction, the very essence of vitality that the human spirit responds to. When someone carries power, they embody life in its rawest form, and life itself is irresistible. This is where the veil begins to lift. And as Nietzsche suggested, when you look beneath appearances, what you find is not love, not morality, but the will to power. And in desire, that will reveals itself with unnerving clarity. Nietzsche was never a man for comforting illusions. While others clothed human nature in the language of morality, altruism, or survival, Nietzsche tore away the veils and revealed something far more primal. He declared that beneath every virtue, every act, every longing, there beats a single pulse, the will to power. Not survival, not even love, but power. The drive to expand, to shape, to impose one's force upon the world. And nowhere does this truth reveal itself more clearly than in desire. Attraction, at its deepest level, has never been about symmetry of features or polite romance. What the feminine longs for is not the surface of a man, but the force that moves within him. his ability to bend circumstances, to carry momentum, to stand unshaken in the face of life. She is not seduced by his skin, but by his essence. When she feels power, she feels life itself pressing against her. And that, more than beauty, arouses the soul. For what is beauty without vitality? A hollow shell. What is charm without force? An empty performance. But power? Power is undeniable. It radiates. It enters a room before words are spoken. It lingers long after the body is gone. Think of the greatest romances, the obsessions that history remembers, the affairs that tore kingdoms apart. Beneath every story is not merely attraction, it is the gravitational field of power, pulling hearts, minds, and bodies into its orbit. Cleopatra and Caesar, Napoleon and Josephine. Figures who were not merely beautiful, but formidable, irresistible, because they embodied vitality itself. Nietzsche understood that life does not simply want to persist, it wants to dominate, to overflow, to create and destroy in the same breath. And in the private theater of desire, this drive plays out with perfect clarity. Women are drawn not to the pretty mask, but to the living force behind it, to the will that declares, I exist and I will not be denied. This is why power is more seductive than beauty. Beauty pleads to be admired. Power demands to be felt, and once it is felt, it is nearly impossible to resist. For decades, Nietzsche's words were dismissed as provocative philosophy, brilliant perhaps, but too dark, too unsettling to be true. Yet slowly, quietly, science began to catch up. What Nietzsche called the will to power, modern psychology began to recognize as something buried deep within our biology. Evolutionary psychology tells us that attraction is not whimsical, not random, but rooted in survival. Across countless generations, certain signals became imprinted into our very instincts: status, dominance, risk-taking. These traits did more than captivate. They promised security, protection, and the continuation of life. A man who could command resources or defend his tribe was not just desirable, he was necessary. His power was her survival, and her body knew it before her mind could argue otherwise. Studies reveal this uncomfortable truth. Men rated as more authoritative in group settings, those who lead, who take charge, who act decisively, are consistently judged as more attractive, even when their physical appearance remains unchanged. A plain man elevated by authority suddenly seems magnetic. A handsome man stripped of it loses his glow. Desire reveals what words often conceal. Power intoxicates. Even risk-taking carries its own seduction. The man who dares, who gambles, who faces danger without flinching. He signals vitality, courage, the ability to shape outcomes when others freeze. And while reason may label him reckless, instinct names him irresistible. Philosophy whispered it, science blushed, then admitted it. Desire had been telling the truth all along. Beneath the polite scripts of modern dating culture lies an older, deeper story written into our DNA. The attraction to power is not a cultural accident, it is biological law. And when you peel back the science, what you find is precisely what Nietzsche foresaw. Desire itself is not the pursuit of love or even of pleasure. It is the recognition of force, the gravitational pull of power disguised as romance, unveiled as instinct. This revelation should unsettle you, because if attraction is written by biology, then choice is not as free as we like to believe. We are drawn, compelled, seduced, not by surface, but by the silent signals of strength radiating beneath it. Up until now, we've spoken of power in terms of status, dominance, wealth, or the authority to lead. But here lies the deeper secret. True seduction has little to do with titles, riches, or outward achievement. It is not what a man owns, but what he is that draws her in. The most intoxicating power is not written on paper, nor displayed on a bank statement. It is felt in the silent weight of his presence. Have you ever noticed how some men can walk into a room and without saying a word, shift the entire atmosphere? Their posture is unhurried, their movements deliberate, their gaze steady. They breathe as though they belong, as though nothing could shake the ground beneath their feet. And suddenly others begin to adjust unconsciously around them, speaking softer, paying attention, waiting for cues. This is not about beauty, nor about wealth. This is presence. True seduction is energetic. It's in the way his voice doesn't rush, because he knows the world will wait for his words. It's in the way he holds eye contact, not aggressively, but with a calm dominance that says, "I am unshaken." It's in the silence he carries, the gravity of someone who does not need to prove anything because his very being is proof. Power, in this form, behaves like a gravitational field. She does not choose to be pulled into it. She orbits it. She may even resist, but resistance only tightens the circle. This is why the quiet man who radiates confidence can outshine the loud man desperate for attention. Presence is louder than noise. And here is the mystery Nietzsche hinted at. Power is not merely social, it is existential. When she feels it, she does not simply see a man. She feels life itself, condensed and undeniable. That is why she leans in, why her pulse quickens, why desire deepens. She is not responding to him alone. She is responding to the force he carries, the unspoken truth of his being. Here lies one of the most unsettling paradoxes of human attraction. The unremarkable man, plain in appearance, even overlooked by most, can suddenly become irresistible when cloaked in power. And yet the opposite is equally true. The beautiful man, admired for his face and form, loses his shine the moment weakness seeps through his presence. Beauty without power is fragile. It crumbles under pressure. But power, even without beauty, endures. History is filled with examples that prove this. Think of rulers, warlords, and kings who were not handsome by any measure, and yet were adored, desired, even worshipped. Their allure was not sculpted in symmetry, it was carved in dominance. Women risked everything for them, not because of how they looked, but because of the force they embodied. The dangerous man, the one feared by many, often becomes the one desired most. His very danger is intoxicating because it signals strength. Strength that she cannot ignore, no matter how much she might try. Here is where desire takes a darker turn. Power's shadow is fear, and yet even fear can become twisted into attraction. The edge of danger creates tension. The pulse quickens not just from longing, but from uncertainty, from standing near the fire and wondering if one will be burned. And still the pull is undeniable, because fear and desire are not opposites. They are often two faces of the same force. She may resist beauty, but she cannot resist the weight of power. Beauty pleads for approval. Power demands surrender. And while the world insists that love should be safe, gentle, and predictable, desire laughs at such notions. Desire has always been drawn to danger, to the raw current of strength that unsettles even as it seduces. This is the truth society dares not admit. The dark side of power is as magnetic as its light, and once you recognize this, you begin to see that attraction is not polite at all. It is primal, untamed, and far more dangerous than we've been taught to believe. If Nietzsche stripped away illusions to reveal the will to power, then Jung and Freud pulled us even deeper, into the hidden caverns of the unconscious, where desire takes on shapes older than history itself. For Carl Jung, every woman carries within her what he called the animus, the inner masculine. It is not the men she meets, but the archetypal force of masculinity itself that she unconsciously longs for. Strength, resolve, dominance, will. These qualities resonate not because society taught her to value them, but because they are etched into the blueprint of her psyche. When she encounters a man who embodies them, it is not merely attraction she feels. It is recognition, a meeting of her inner archetype with flesh and bone. Freud, on the other hand, dared to link libido with dominance. For him, desire was never as delicate as romance pretends. It was a current tied to control, to possession, to the power dynamics of who yields and who commands. In this view, the bedroom becomes not just a site of intimacy, but a theater where the primal forces of domination and surrender play themselves out again and again. Together, Jung and Freud reveal something that unsettles polite notions of love. Desire is not personal, it is mythic, it is archetypal. It belongs less to the individual and more to the human collective. When attraction strikes, it is not simply about two people. It is about ancient patterns echoing through time, drawing us into roles older than civilization. And here is the whisper you cannot ignore. Attraction is not a choice. It is ancient programming, hidden in the marrow of our being. She does not choose to be stirred by power. She is compelled by forces far deeper than reason, deeper than confession. To resist this truth is to deny not only psychology, but the mythic roots of humanity itself. Here is where the illusion begins to fracture. Ask most women what they want in a partner, and the answers come wrapped in words like kindness, stability, warmth, and understanding. These are the socially acceptable virtues, the qualities safe to admit in daylight. Yet if you look not at words but at choices, a darker truth begins to emerge. Time and again, attraction tilts toward dominance, strength, and power. It is not that kindness or stability are unwanted. Of course, they are valued. But when desire speaks, it speaks in another language. And that language has little patience for politeness. The man who is endlessly kind but powerless often finds himself adored as a friend and dismissed as a lover. Meanwhile, the man who carries authority, even wrapped in shadows, awakens passions she herself may not understand. This is the forbidden truth society works hard to conceal, that beneath the myth of pure romance lies a current far more primal. To admit it openly would unravel the comforting stories we tell about love being based only on virtue or fairness. But desire doesn't care about fairness. It doesn't care about the rules. Desire is honest, even when words are lies. A woman may declare her longing for safety, but her body stirs in the presence of risk. She may preach equality, but her pulse quickens before dominance. These contradictions are not hypocrisy. They are biology, instinct, the shadow written into the human story. And once you see this truth, you cannot unsee it. You begin to realize that desire is not what we say it is. It is what we choose, what we chase, what we cannot help but orbit. Now let's turn the gaze back on you. If attraction bends not to beauty, but to power, then the real question is not how to polish your appearance, not how to charm with borrowed lines, not even how to win approval. The real question is this: how do you become powerful? And here, we must strip away another illusion. Power is not cruelty. It is not domination for its own sake, nor the loud performance of control. True power begins with self-mastery, the ability to govern your own impulses, to remain steady when others break, to act with conviction rather than hesitation. It is confidence, not arrogance, presence, not performance, the kind of strength that does not need to announce itself because it radiates in silence. Think of it this way. When storms rise, most people scatter, their composure unraveling with the wind. But the one who stands unshaken, who breathes deeply while others panic, who remains centered, that one is seen as powerful. And it is that steadiness, that rootedness, that ignites attraction far more than looks or charm ever could. If you want to be desired, stop chasing beauty. Become the gravity others cannot escape. Cultivate strength of mind, strength of will, strength of spirit. For it is not your reflection in the mirror that commands longing. It is the force you carry, the quiet authority that tells the world you cannot be easily swayed. This is the challenge Nietzsche left us with, to step beyond survival, beyond approval, and into power. And once you embody that force, desire will not be something you chase. It will be something drawn to you, pulled into your orbit, unable to resist. So now the threads weave together. Nietzsche's will to power, the raw philosophy that stripped away illusions. Psychology's reluctant proof, admitting that status, dominance, and presence stir attraction at the deepest level. And the timeless magnetism of strength itself, the current beneath every romance, every obsession, every story of desire whispered through history. We began with the illusion of beauty, the idea that appearances alone hold sway. But the deeper we looked, the clearer it became. Beauty flickers, power endures. Beauty asks to be admired. Power compels surrender. And when you look closely, you see that desire has always been drawn to power. Not because it is fashionable, not because it is convenient, but because it is life's own signal of vitality. Here is the question you cannot escape. If power is the ultimate aphrodisiac, then ask yourself, what power do you carry and how are you wielding it? Do you live in hesitation, dependent on approval, waiting to be chosen? Or do you embody that gravitational force, steady, undeniable, drawing others without effort because you have mastered yourself first? This is the haunting truth. Attraction is not about what you look like, but about what you radiate. And once you understand that, the game changes forever. If this made you think deeper, subscribe. Because here at Think Deep, we don't just think, we go further. We peel back the layers of truth, one hidden insight at a time.